Hi, everyone. Welcome to What's Up Humanity, stories that open minds and hearts. I'm Andra Bayless, your host. This podcast is meant for you to hear the positive side of life, stories of people who are using their gifts, talents, and skills to make this a better world. This podcast is dedicated to the humanitarian philanthropist Mohanji, who encourages each of us to bless the world as he has. With over 90 countries, he has established charitable organizations. So please visit mohanji.org. And also, it's dedicated to the silent master, Meher Baba, who taught that love is contagious. These podcast speakers will share how they themselves have blessed the world and have done their part in spreading love. So hope you can catch it and spread it yourselves. May these amazing stories that you hear kindle your heart and inspire the greatness within you. Today's podcast is the Alchemy of Transformation. We welcome today a social scientist, public speaker, thinker, author, definitely a newsmaker, and a unique interfaith wedding officiant. Welcome, Dr. Mike Ghouse.
So good to be here, Andra. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you. I always enjoy talking with you and learning from you.
Thank you so much. So do you mind if I call you Mike then? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
All right, wonderful. So Mike is deeply, I'm going to read a bio. You have a very, very long bio, but I can't read it all here because you're so active doing so many wonderful things in the world, Mike, and I so respect you for that. So let me read what I have here for our listeners. Dr. Mike Ghouse is deeply committed to pluralism in religion, politics, societies, human rights, and religious freedom. He offers pluralistic solutions on issues of the day to the media and to policymakers. He is the founder and president of the Center for Pluralism, an established educational activism institution in the Washington, D.C. area. He is also director of the World Muslim Congress think tank. He brings people of different religions together in matrimony as a wedding officiant for interfaith and Muslim marriages. He is driven by the idea of pluralism. And if we can learn, respect the otherness of others and accept God-given uniqueness of each of one of us, then he feels that conflicts fade and solutions emerge. Mike's speeches, commentaries, press releases, articles, messages, and discussions are appreciated for their common sense clarity. He has published a newspaper, produced radio and TV talk shows, and been a commentator on national TV, and excels at building relations with the community, public, media, and the government. His experience in conflict mitigation and goodwill nurturance in dealing with people with different faiths, races, ethnicities, nationalities, sexual and political orientations has empowered him with community building expertise in building cohesive communities. And this is what I found was most laudable and wonderful to read. Mike's ultimate mission is to open people's hearts and minds toward their fellow beings. So thank you so much for being with us today, Mike. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Mike, we live in a very diverse society with many cultures and religions, socioeconomic levels. And in the midst of all of this diversity, Mike, you established the Center for Pluralism. So I looked up the meaning of pluralism in the dictionary, and it said, pluralism is the idea that people of different cultures can coexist in society, even though they have different political opinions. Pluralists believe that society benefits from various people with different beliefs equally participating in the same society. So my question to you is, what is your definition of pluralism? And what made you start the Center for Pluralism?
First of all, if you Google search the word pluralism from 95 to 2000, there may be about 500 time entries on Google. Of that, there are 30 or 40 come from our center. And as we grew, there's a lot of entries. We have Pluralism Center. Other organizations have evolved. There is also a Center for Pluralism, not Center for Pluralism Project by the Harvard University. Then there is Aga Khan Center for Pluralism. How did I start the Center for Pluralism? It's a little story. I'll be very happy to share that. The year was 1996. I pretty much knew all the religions and ethnic communities of Dallas. And one of my friends asked me to join the Thanksgiving Square. It is a pioneering institution, pioneering multicultural institution, much before the interfaith organizations began. Kevin Raff, he was the Baha'i. He was president of the organizations. Everyone wanted me to join the organization because I had a radio show, I had a newspaper. They wanted to be part of it. So I applied for membership. The next day, Kevin calls me up and says, Mike, we do not have a place for you, meaning I do not have a pigeonhole for you. If you were a Christian, Hindu, or Muslim, you're welcome. We do not have a spot or a pigeonhole for an atheist, which I was at that time. I thanked him and said to myself, this is not right. Every American should be able to join any organization freely. So there was no pigeonhole for me, and that was wrong. And then I said, let's start an organization where every American can come to it. So we started the organization called Foundation for Pluralism in 1996, and then we changed the name later on to the Center for Pluralism. We had about 200 members who actively participated in discussions.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you telling me that story. And I guess on everybody's mind is, and if you could briefly answer this question, is what makes you a pluralist, Mike?
Wow, what makes me a pluralist? Let me share a few thoughts here. I respect the otherness of the others. And I think I failed to define what pluralism was earlier. Pluralism is respecting the otherness of the other. You are who you are, I am who I am. You and I are created by the Creator, God, or whatever you want to call, with uniqueness, unmatchable uniqueness. Each one of us has our own thumbprint. The 8 billion have different thumbprints, different eye prints, and our DNA is different. That's how unique we are. Accepting that uniqueness and respecting that uniqueness is pluralism. And is also honoring and respecting God, to tell God that what you have created is unique, and I accept and appreciate you for that. I do not consider anyone to be my enemy. I fought prejudice all my life, from within and from without. And again, I do not consider anyone to be my enemy. I consider them to be potentially my friends once we finish conversation. And I had fairly good success and failures too. I go with what Jesus said is very driving to me. I condemn sin, but not the sinner, because he or she is redeemable. Everyone is redeemable. There are some who are not, but maybe because we did not try hard enough. I have no problem. You ask me what makes me a pluralist. I have no problems with anybody's religion. I accept and respect every way people worship the Creator, whichever the way they do. It should bring humility. I believe in human rights of others. When humility comes to you by worshiping the Creator any way you want to, it builds bridges. You treat other people as fellow humans, worshiping the Creator.
That's amazing that you have that perspective. I wish that everyone actually held that perspective. We'd have a more peaceful world if people did. I looked at your website, and you also talked about building cohesive societies. Could you please briefly talk about what do you mean by a cohesive society?
Well, let me start from the universe down to individual level. In the universe, if you look at, there are planets revolving around sun. They are programmed very precisely to go on the sun. They've been going around for millions of years. They're not colliding and clashing with each other. That is a perfect programming. The creator has programmed to act precisely. Let's come to the Earth, planet Earth. It goes in exactly 24 hours, a full circle. Then it tilts at a certain angle, very precise angle, to give us these different seasons to sustain life. If it tilts wrongly, we may die because of the heat or cold, but it is programmed to function precisely. Now let's come to human being. In human, our body is programmed to function. All our organs from brain, heart, liver, stomach, intestines, kidneys, all of them are put together to work with each other. They have to function together for me and you to act as a normal human being, to act as a healthy human being. So that is cohesion. Now that cohesion can be destroyed by our freedom, the free will we have. Our interactions with each other creates harmony or disharmony. And that is where our work is. Planets are said to be cohesive. The human body is said to be cohesive. What is not cohesive is our freedom. And that's where our problems are. And that's where our role is, to work cohesively, as God has created everything in harmony, perfect harmony, precise harmony. And that's where, when the harmony goes off, that's where the phrase tikkun olam or islahul alam comes in. That when it goes out of harmony or imbalance, we have a role to do that. And let me share one beautiful statement by the Native Americans. I believe it was this Chief Seattle about 150 years ago. He said, "We didn't create this universe. We are merely a strand in it. If you mess with this strand, we are messing with ourselves." Such a powerful statement. So pluralism is to restore harmony in the world. And that is what the tikkun olam phrase comes, or islahul Islam. That is a phrase I have just created recently. And that comes from, and that's what makes me a pluralist.
Thank you, Mike. And I know that you mentioned tikkun olam. That's Hebrew for the healing of the world. And I understand in Arabic, the islah is the same meaning. So I know you've done a lot of things in your life, Mike, but your life now seems to be deeply involved with interfaith, bridge building in particular. So my question to you is, how did you get into interfaith conversation, and why do you do what you do?
Everyone, Andra, has his or her calling to do certain things in life. My calling is to open people's hearts and minds towards each other. You and I are suckers in life. I can go work in home building, make lots of money. You can do a lot of consulting and make lots of money. But that is not our calling. We chose to take this. There is no money in it for us, but we chose to do what we feel is the right thing to do to restore humanity back to humanity. The causer of universe, also known as God, created the universe in harmony, to repeat it, and all things in the universe run per a precise program. This harmony comes again from our disability to connect with each other or accept and respect each other. Restoring harmony is our duty. It is for our own good. And as I quoted the Chief Seattle, and we have a responsibility. And now answering your second question, why did I get into of the interfaith conversation. It's a long story. Given the time, I will cut it short. As a kid in early teens, my friends included Hindus, Christians, Jains, Sikhs, Dalits, Adivasis, Zoroastrians, and Muslims. Unfortunately, in my town, we didn't have any Jewish people. I was curious why they all worship differently. I went to the Hindu temple every Saturday night to sing the bhajans with my fellow Hindus there. And Fridays, I went to the mosque. And occasionally, I went to the church on Sundays. I saw the essence of each religion, that is acknowledging an eternal controller of the universe, whom they call God in different ways, that he or she is greater than all of us, that we are accountable for what we do. My English teacher was Mr. Ramachandran. He was a big Sai Baba Bhakt. You heard about Sai Baba?
Yes.
Sai Baba. And he was a big devotee of him. And my close friend, he was a weaver. He weaved the clothes of saris. He and I used to talk for hours on Islam. So I got them together. I was about 11 to 14. I got them together and listened to their conversation. My grandfather was a Sunni Muslim and his close friend was a Shia Muslim. They will sit down and have a conversation. I listened to this civic way of carrying this conversation without accepting and acknowledging each other's differences, without getting into fights. We had a flour mill. My dad had a flour mill where we converted grains into flour. There I met the Adivasis, or the tribal. I listened to them, their conversation that was usually in Tamil. I learned a little bit Tamil. I listened to their conversation. Then the Sikhs worked in the Air Force Base 4 miles from my town. They came, brought wheat, and I sat down with them for hours and talked to them. So I learned about all religions. I learned about Judaism through books at that time. But I learned other religions directly from them. Then there was a Dr. Abraham Kapoor. I can say he was the father of the modern atheism. He wrote articles. He was from Sri Lanka. I read it. And I found out recently, meeting with some other Indians, Hindu Indians, Christian Indians, they were all in tune with him at that same time. So we all chose to become atheists. I was 15. I said atheism is the way to go. But I was not a belligerent atheism that ridiculed religions. I respected all religions. Now I jumped to Dallas, Texas. It was the year 1993. For about 14 years, I lived in Dallas. I did not have any connection with any Indians. I was basically with the mainstream Americans. Eating, working was all with white and Black Americans. No connection with Indians. But when I became single in 1993, I wanted to connect with fellow Indians. So I started a newspaper called Asian News. What I did with the newspaper was wrote about every faith. I went to every place of worship in Dallas. I wrote about them, took pictures, put them. All in a sudden, people are enjoying learning about each other. Then I started writing the essence of festivals. So we all can learn about each other's festivals. And then I also added the political pluralism to it. And that was religious pluralism. Political pluralism included writing about India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and of course, the United States. People started learning about each other. And of course, I had many conversations, difficult conversations. As an Indian, people had difficulty why I'm writing about Pakistan or Bangladesh. And as some of my Muslim friends, why are you writing about Hinduism? We we crossed all those barriers. So that's when we started the interfaith dialogue. And I did a radio show for 2 years. We did 54 hours on Judaism, Sikhism, humanity, atheism, and about 104 hours on Islam, Christianity, and Hinduism. And the whole idea, people loved it. The whole idea was, when we live in the same place, same street, same town, same country, if you don't know about each other, shame on us. So we did that, and we learned about each other. So that's where the interfaith dialogue came, and Center for Pluralism got established. It is about all religions, inclusive of everyone. I had a bad taste of being excluded from the Thanksgiving scare. So I didn't want to be like that. I want to be inclusive. So the interfaith dialogue began there, and it has continued since then.
So I can see that you were exposed and had experience being with many people of different religions back in India, and you brought that type of experience with you when you lived in Dallas, Texas. You began on your own, looking into different houses of worship, different religions, and then eventually put it together. And I guess you came with some type of understanding of the similarities in some respect of the different religions as far as their main goal. And I think that's probably what is most important, is to look at different religions and see what is the essence in all of these religions, beyond the ceremonies and rituals and, traditions that really divide us and show uniqueness. There is that commonality. So back to the fact that you lived in Dallas, Texas for a while. The question to you is, what made you come to the Washington, D.C. area?